We wanted to welcome everyone to our Orem Business Alliance webinar, the first of 2021. I'm Kathy Lewis, the City of Orem Economic Development Division Manager, and with me is Nate Prescott. He's the Economic Development Analyst, and together we help to manage and run the Orem Business Alliance. I wanted to introduce our topic and our program today, but first I wanted to let you know that we have some great free business resources through our Business Resource Center. If you need help with HR, if you need help with your taxes this year, if you need some extra tips in business marketing or management, you can reach out to the Business Resource Center, specifically the Small Business Development Center counselors there, and they have all kinds of classes and workshops and free programs for you. And Nate, in our dialogue box, is going to put all the information, contact information for the Business Resource Center. Now I wanted to introduce our topic, and that is for today, lessons learned from 2020. And I know all of us have faced all kinds of challenges in 2020 in our personal life and in our businesses and in our jobs and our personal employment. And today we have 4 speakers from different sectors of businesses here in Orem and that represent the regional economy to share with us some of their tips and lessons learned from 2020. And I'll introduce all 4 speakers and then tell you a little bit about each one as they speak. First, we're going to hear from Mary Street, and she's a Mountain West commercial real estate associate broker. Then we'll hear from Neal Anderson, and he's from Mity Inc. That's a global manufacturing business here in Orem. Then we'll hear from Keenan White, and she's the owner of Studio K Dance Academy here in Orem. And finally, we'll hear from Julio Gonzalez. He's the owner of Asado Argentinian grill, and he's much more than just a dishwasher, believe me. So we'll get started now with Mary Street. Mary serves as the associate broker at Mountain West Commercial Real Estate, and she's been in the commercial real estate industry in Utah Valley since 1996. She develops real estate strategy for clients with interests in both selling and leasing land, industrial, retail, office, and investment sales. Mary's been a top producing broker for many consecutive years and was awarded the CCIM Specialty Broker of the Year Award in 2020. And throughout her career, Mary has worked to promote effective land use policies that support economic and community development. And this is one of my favorite parts. She served on both the Orem City Planning Commission and the Orem City Council between the years 2006 and 2013. So now we're going to turn the time over to Mary for some tips and insights of what she's learned in 2020.
Thanks, Kathy. I appreciate the introduction. So 2020 caught all of us by surprise, right? It's like a bolt of lightning out of a clear blue sky. And my first reaction when I realized what was happening with the economy being shut down was, oh my gosh, I'm not going to make money for the rest of the year. So how do I cut expenses? So after a couple of weeks of really worrying, our entire team switched gears, and we decided that what we needed to do was be proactive and do outreach to our clients, because every day we deal with businesses that are leasing real estate for their restaurants or for their barber shops, and these things were closed. So how do we reach out to them? How do we let them know that we're there to support? And what we found is that there were a lot of people retooling themselves. And if they couldn't do what they normally do at the time, then they would switch gears and figure out how to still be productive and how to still be helpful. So we spent a few weeks disseminating information to our clients about the PPP loans, about the economic injury disaster loans. What we found is there's so much noise on the internet that we all get so many emails that for some of our clients, our emails stood out because they know us, and we tried to provide them with really good information that was succinct and then pointed them to the expert. And so that relationship building, I think is really helpful, because when they know that we're all trying to work together to support one another, that gives you some comfort, right? We're not all in this alone. The other thing that we saw is that a lot of companies looked at this as an opportunity. Even if their business was impacted for now, they realized that we will always need accountants. We will always need attorneys. We will always need a lot of different things. And so a lot of the clients that we work with took this opportunity to take advantage of the SBA loans and the really low rates and the deferred payments to secure their real estate. So we've seen real estate sales actually thrive during this period. So after 2 weeks of worrying, I had to start working really hard. So I think that our local economy, we're just strong. Our state is strong, Utah County is strong. I think that consumer confidence in our area is also strong, and that while we know we've been impacted in the short term, we don't see that as long term. And so a lot of people are using this time to make long range plans. And while they've got a period of disruption, they're looking for what opportunities are still available to them. And so if you're concerned about inflation at all, and you're a tenant somewhere and you're thinking, I don't know what's going to happen if my rent rates go up, maybe you buy your own place and now you're your own landlord so that you have control over that. Those are the kinds of business decisions that we saw people making.
Thank you, Mary. I thought it was really fascinating. You gave some good tools for kind of looking at what the opportunities are and seizing this as an opportunity. I like that positive spin to do long range planning and to really kind of redirect and focus that good business energy. I appreciate those thoughts. Now we're going to move to Neal Anderson. And like I said, Neal works for Mity Inc., and that's a global manufacturing business located here in Orem, and it specializes in meeting, event, and restaurant furniture, and they've been in business for over 30 years. And Neal has 20 years experience, over 20 years experience in the human resource field, having worked for MACA Supply as an HR generalist, then 8 years as an HR supervisor for Nestle, and these businesses were both in Springville, and as a regional HR manager for Capstone Paper and Packaging. And he was overseeing operations for several states, including Utah, Idaho, California, Nevada, and South Carolina. And currently, Neal is the vice president of HR for Mity Inc., that's headquartered here in Orem. And Mity has operations in Missouri, Tennessee, and 2 locations in Ontario, Canada. Neal holds a master's degree in public administration from BYU and is a certified senior professional in human resources. That's SPHR from HRCI, a lot of acronyms there. And Neal and his wife reside in Springville with 3 of their 4 children attending BYU and 1 still at home. And I was thinking 3 out of your 4 kids at BYU, you must have kind of a hefty tuition bill at your house.
Yeah, BYU's the budget tuition.
That's true.
Other places, it's getting off easy. Thankfully, most of my kids also got in there on scholarships. So
that's great.
They did their part, and we beat them silly to make sure they got good grades and did well in their athletic opportunities. So we're in pretty good shape that way.
That's great.
Yeah, COVID was kind of a mess for us because our first, we had just changed leadership over the last year and a half, 2 years. A lot of different changes going on in our business, a lot of opportunity for recovery. Our first quarter last year in 2020 was the best first quarter we've ever had. So we were really looking forward to a good year, and then COVID hit. Now, our industry is primarily focused on a lot of convention sales to convention centers, hotels, churches, public space gatherings. So you can imagine what COVID did to our market. It really eroded very, very quickly. Our first objective, though, was to protect our employees. We wanted to make sure we could still operate, but do so safely and ensure that none of our employees or their families were ever put at risk because they were still coming in here at work. And we needed to make sure that our employees understood that, and they had confidence in us as a company. So we quickly implemented a lot of changes to social distancing. A lot of our people that are in our office, we made sure that they could work remotely. And to this day, most of our office staff is working remotely from home, which introduces its own challenges. And then, of course, regular cleaning and very strict rules when it comes to PPP, personal protective equipment, as well as making sure that as we would find out from employees that as they got COVID or their family members got COVID, that we made sure we were taking care of them. Probably the one thing that helped us out the most through all of this was our drive to be proactive. We worked very hard to make sure we were looking ahead and saying, okay, if this happens, what are we going to do? We were following the legislation on the PPP loan long before it was even passed to make sure we had everything lined up. We knew some of the requirements that would take place. So we held off on the layoffs at that point. We knew we needed to cut expenses. We quickly worked to cut all of our overhead expenses. Travel was curtailed, any unnecessary travel. We looked at every nickel and dime to make sure we stripped things back as much as possible. The PPP loan was a great shot in the arm for us. It helped keep our employees going. And even when we didn't have the volume, we kept our employees coming in and used that opportunity to do cross training to make sure we were a far more versatile company going forward. That way, we could, as resources would be moved around, if we had a big order in one area, we could move people to that area and they'd have the training experience to still be able to produce. Canada also did a wage subsidy program that also helped us as a company. So between that and the PPP loan, we actually came out of last year in pretty good shape. We did have to have a reduction in force, which was, a tragic experience for a lot of our employees. But at the same time, we planned on it over a space of months. It wasn't a knee-jerk reaction. We made sure that we had severance packages available and support for our employees that would be leaving us over that time. And as things come back, there may be the opportunity to bring those guys back as well. So we have high hopes for the future. Going into this year, we're looking at a very difficult first 6 months, but we hope that the pent-up demand that is out there will be realized, and we'll be in the best position possible to take advantage of that. We didn't close any of our facilities. We reduced some headcount and staff, but we are still looking and hiring for the future at this point to make sure that we have all the resources we need to be able to take advantage. Because one thing I've learned in business is that oftentimes it's when the tough times come, yeah, it's hard, but it's who can hold their head above water the longest. And then they're the ones that really thrive on the other side of this. So we still work very hard to keep our employees safe. I got COVID over the Christmas break, and that was kind of a bummer, but back at it now. And hopefully we can, as the vaccines are distributed, as we start to achieve between vaccines and herd immunity, we get there. What's tough right now is Utah is number 4 on the worst outbreaks, and number 3 is Tennessee. So our 2 U.S. operations, major U.S. operations, are both in pretty rough areas. So we're watching it very closely. But on the whole, we're fairly optimistic because we are leaner now. We are better equipped and better structured to be a more profitable operation. As soon as things come back, we expect to have a very good year.
Thank you. I was fascinated. Your business has really gone through a lot of change, not just change in leadership, but the things that you couldn't control, because the change in leadership was probably something that was put into place slowly, and you chose who was going to come into leadership. But with COVID, you didn't get to choose that. You didn't get to choose what happened and how. But I like the word that you used, that you were proactive, that you use that time to better equip your business safety-wise and also structurally and financially. And that you used the word quickly. You said you quickly put into place all the regulations that were required, social distancing and with the personal protection equipment. And that you looked ahead, and by looking ahead, you were able to kind of foresee the economic downturn that was happening and to prepare for it by cutting your expenses as much. And you said the one thing you did slowly, which I thought was really good for your employees, you slowly determined who you were going to have to lay off, and you did that with packages and with the hope that you could rehire them. And you also, going forward, you retrained your employees and to try as much as you could to kind of restructure where the employees were. And I think you're a good model for that, to be able to go with things that you can't control and to create a better business because of it, and to use that time to train and to look forward and to better your business.
Yeah, well, one of the other things we did, and I'll just mention this, is that at the end of the year, of course, we didn't meet any of our objectives or goals when it comes to targets, but our ownership, they were very supportive of us and saying, they knew the steps we were taking, that we were being proactive rather than reactionary. And so we were able to take some of the cost savings we took out of the business and do some pretty nice bonuses at the end of the year, some discretionary bonuses for all of our employees, including our hourly employees. We did on average $1,000 per employee.
Wow.
So, and that made a huge difference. And it also bought us a lot of goodwill with our employees, that they're in it for the long haul. I mean, these people have been with us for years and decades in some cases. And so, you know, they know the business, they know the struggles we're going through, but we're going to need these people to get on the other side of this too.
What was the reaction of some of your businesses or some of your employees when they received their?
A lot of tears. A lot of employees said, "Hey, I get to tell my kids that Santa doesn't have COVID." You know, it was really heartwarming, and it really, I mean, we've been pretty transparent with the struggles we're facing with our employees. So when they saw that, they knew that you know, we were really trying to do our best to look out for them, and that makes such a huge difference when it comes to discretionary effort on the floor.
That's true. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. You're a great example. Now we're going to hear from Keenan White, and she's the owner of Studio K Dance Academy. And Studio K was awarded the Orem Business Alliance Standout Business for Innovation for 2020. Studio K is a low-pressure dance studio that was established in 2007. Beginning with just 27 dancers, the studio has grown steadily every year in the competitive field. Keenan has been dancing since she was 3 years old. Imagine that. And she graduated from BYU with a degree in dance. She built Studio K on her strengths as an organizer, interacting with people, and knowing her niche in the market. Outside of her business, Keenan and her husband, Ben, have 5 very active kids. She loves date night, anything to do with chocolate, and she'll jump at every opportunity to go on vacation with her family. So now we'll turn the time to Keenan.
Thank you so much, Kathy. It really is an honor to be here among such wonderful business colleagues. So thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it. Studio K is an attendance-based business. As such, the pandemic recommendations have always been a challenge. Like all of us, we were forced to look at our responsibility for community health. When the first shutdowns happened, I called the health department for clarification, which I've done many times in the last 10 months. I learned we were not required to close. We had to choose. We had the choice to remain open, business as usual, or voluntarily close. I felt a tremendous pressure to take care of my young dancers and their families. There were so many unknowns about the virus in the beginning that I felt we needed to be part of the solution. So we moved to online classes, leaving our studio space empty for 5 weeks. As you know, Zoom has its challenges, and dance classes over Zoom are so hard. Add to that we were learning recital choreography, and we realized big modifications were coming. When I opened Studio K in 2007, it was a hobby, something I could make a little money doing. As the studio grew, I realized the time and effort it was taking and knew that I had to treat it more like a business. I have never lost my love of dance and seeing that through my dancers, but the pandemic helped me realize how much my dance studio still means to me. We have the great opportunity to help our young dancers connect to something inside them and find the same love of dance. In the new circumstances of 2020, I had to figure out how to find success inside a new model. My new work days were longer than they'd ever been and lasted for the last 13 weeks of our dance season, all while losing money, making sure all the safety protocols were followed, and changing the way we usually have done everything. The show must go on. Through endless hours of coordination, planning, and ongoing dance classes, we were able to have an in-person modified dance recital last May. It was a glorious victory amidst so many canceled events. Our dancers shined and were so happy to perform through the pain and uncertainty of the world. Through everything, Studio K has the same mission statement and core values. The things on the surface that have changed for our business are time-consuming and often tedious, but the renewed commitment from me as the owner-director, from my teachers, and from my clients is palpable, inspiring, and what keeps us moving forward. I was able to secure some of the relief money, but not enough to cover my losses. I am one of the blessed businesses to have a loyal customer base, and we were able to have a strong summer season, which kept us afloat until our current season, which began with the school year last August. We now offer digital options to all our classes. We have softened our policy for sick days, and the effort required to keep up with the changing community guidelines is exhausting. What I have learned is that relationships are really what matter. Every phone call, email, moments spent in class, and conversation in the grocery store is worth it. I've also learned how important clear and timely communication is. Since the beginning, I have taken the time necessary to gather information and send clear communications to my clients, and have expressed my appreciation for them and been honest in where we are as a business and the help I needed. I have the amazing opportunity to know my dancers and their families on a personal level, and that has helped during this time, and they've let me know how much they appreciated that connection. I have also learned how important it is to be an advocate for my business. It is my business, and staying up to date on restrictions and how those affect us personally has allowed us to continue dance classes with only some modifications. At a time when kids want activities and parents want a safe place for their kids to go, we are so happy to be able to offer that. I'm thankful that our local and state governments have given my business the opportunity to make our own decisions at a time when so many states haven't given those options. As I watch colleagues across the world lose their dance studios and businesses, I'm thankful we have weathered the storm and look forward to many post-pandemic seasons to come.
Thank you, Keenan. What you shared with us, along with our previous business representatives, is to me really inspiring. You're so positive amid all the challenges you faced with your business, economic challenges, trying to reschedule everything, trying to figure out new creative ways of doing things. I thought it was really interesting that you said relationships matter. And isn't that true? Across all different industries, relationships matter. It's what makes a difference. Really, it's the human connection. And you said that clear communication is really important. I think that extends through all industries. The better we communicate. And I can see that you really worked hard at first knowing and then implementing all the different restrictions and changes that have been required to our businesses during COVID. And I just want to commend you for the stability and the security you've given to these dancers, because just think, amid all the change in their life, to have something that's consistent that they can count on, that brings joy, it was probably a great relief to them. So thank you for your comments and for your different things that you shared. I appreciate you coming. Now we're going to wrap up with hearing from Julio Gonzalez. And Julio mentioned that he claims that he's just the humble dishwasher of Asado, and that his wife is the true mastermind and owner of the business. However, if you follow Asado on Facebook, you're going to see quickly that Julio does quite a bit more than just washing the dishes. And he explains to us that his love of food is something that he was born with. And he said, in South America, food is the center of all that is. You wake up thinking about what you're going to eat, and while you're eating, you're thinking about what you're going to prepare next. I'm kind of like that. I'm kind of a foodie too. I love food. And he goes on to say that he was born in Uruguay to a mother from Argentina. And he learned at an early age from his grandmother that love goes into preparing all kinds of food. And I think that's truly the secret ingredient. I always say that is love in food. And Julio's father told him, if you ever open a restaurant, your guests will enjoy it because you will serve the food the way you want to eat. That's true. Now that Julio owns Asado, he realizes his father was right. The food has to be fresh, colorful, and absolutely delicious. Asado prides itself in serving the freshest products with the simplest ingredients. Asado Argentinian Grill is a family-owned, truly home-cooked restaurant. They have been in business for 4 years here in Orem and consider themselves blessed to grow to an even greater height during the pandemic. We'll turn the time now to Julio.
Kathy, you're simply amazing. I should have you with me every day, the way that you describe that. Hello, everybody, and Happy New Year to you all. This last year has been a challenge for all of us. The restaurant business has seen many, many closures. I have friends that have been in business for a long time, particularly in California, and have had to close. And so it's really hard to see your dream and your hard work just fall apart in front of you without you having any control. I kind of saw the writing on the wall early on this year or last year, and so I started putting together a food truck. And I knew that if they closed the restaurants down, people still needed to eat. I could still drive to communities and buildings and office buildings, and I could still feed people and at the same time feed my family because, we have to stay relevant. We were closed for 2 weeks while the governor was trying to figure out what to do. And I took those 2 weeks and I cleaned the restaurant from the top to the bottom. I took everything outside, we steam cleaned. We just sterilized everything, put everything back, spaced our tables before we were told to do that, rationed orders. We get deliveries every day, so everything's fresh. I don't have a freezer or a microwave. So that was kind of the easy part, We started doing to-goes, and that didn't go so well for us simply because our food to-go isn't the best. We do a lot of it, but I'm just not happy with it because by the time it gets to your desk, or to your home, no matter how much I package it, it's not going to be piping hot. And a fresh steak, a young cow that doesn't have a lot of fat, that beef has to be eaten now, not in 45 minutes. So we suffered a little bit in regards to the to-go business. I knew that I had trained my staff really, really well. Somebody had told me once, train your staff so that no one knows who the owner is. And so, interestingly enough, I wanted to train my cooks and my servers in that manner so that I could leave and do other things, for example, and we would survive. But without a lot of revenue, it was difficult to keep everybody. But that's when having reserves or a little bit of reserves kind of comes into play. You just have to put it all on the line, you know what I mean? If you have faith in your product, if you believe in what you're doing for a living, you got to put it on the line. PPP loan really helped us. We also paid them a bonus of $1,000 each, and they were crazy because who was doing that in the restaurant business? We knew that money wasn't ours; it was theirs. So we didn't lose anybody. Correction, we lost one server. She went to some warehouse, and that's okay. But we were able to pay the rent. We were able to keep our salaries going, and assisted by the food truck really helped us out tremendously. When the restaurant opened up again, people came out, by the droves and just wanted to eat. They were tired of being home. They were tired of, macaroni and cheese. And so we spaced everybody as much as we could. There was a long wait, but never more than 30 minutes. I mean, I look at Texas Roadhouse on any given day is a 2-hour wait. I don't understand it. So we processed everybody really well. I think that lessons learned is that we have to remain relevant in front of our clients. We have to continue to market on a daily basis. Kathy, you had mentioned those videos. Those videos take seconds and have a huge power to communicate with people. Just simply say good morning. Hey guys, what's up? Right now, what we're doing, it's a 30-second commercial. And if people get used to seeing you online, the friendship grows and develops, and that was kind of exciting for us to be able to see people making comments. Hey, your hair is growing, or hey, you cut your hair, or hey, And so we became friends with our clientele, which was phenomenal. I mean, I've had dinners at home where I've invited 4, 5, 6 families to come to my house and have dinner, and now it's your turn to make dinner for 4 or 5 families, and let's play, because food is such a fun playground, to be in. Continuing to shop small and telling people to please, take care of small businesses before you go out and use the big guys that have, finances, for us is really big because we are mom and pop. You come in and something's not on the menu, we'll make it for you if we have the ingredients because we have chefs that can cook, So for us, keeping it small and preaching that, taking care of our first responders for us was also huge. City of Orem, we continually feed the police and fire. Tomorrow we're going to the hospital to feed people. It's an investment on our part, but it's a gratitude for them being there for us without any condition. You get sick, they'll take care of us. You call the fire department, they're there. So So that has been a blessing. And in return, and that's not why I did it, but in return, the loyalty has been tremendous. So taking care of the community, looking forward, was great. The city of Orem sent a bunch of employees to the restaurant to buy food stamp. Not food stamps, gift cards. And so when I saw a bunch of employees from Orem buying gift cards, I thought, man, this is community working at its best. Everybody helping each other out, you know, and Utah being such a small state, we're able to do that. It has been a challenge. Our kids, I have 3 young daughters, have learned tremendously from this. God forbid this happens when they become moms. They'll know what to do with their children. You know what I mean? And so it has been a lesson. It's been fun planning the day. It has been a challenge, but I think that if you have a good product, I think that if you believe in yourself, I think that if you challenge yourself every day to be better than yesterday, I think that we'll be here tomorrow, you know? And so power to all the businesses that are listening, power, love to everybody that is questioning whether we should stay open or close. Stay open, man, stay open. You know, it's worth you putting in the time and the hustle. You got to put in the hustle, you got to work. You know, I mean, we're putting in 14, 16 hours a day sometimes, you know, and then when we know it's going to be a little slower, we do take the time off to be able to relax and chill and go have dinner with the family and date nights and all that good stuff. So Asado, you know, we're hoping to open up in a few other places. It's good food. We're over at the Midtown buildings. I invite you all to come in and ask for Julio, and I'll take care of you guys. And I wash dishes daily. I love it. I sweep, I clean the bathrooms. That's part of the involvement, the passion that you must have for your business. I think when employees see you doing that, there's no reason why they can't do that. If you're too good to pick up a piece of paper off the floor, then you know you're going to have that kind of an employee. So lead by example, I think, and love everybody and work hard. And I think that this year with the vaccine coming out, you know, confidence is back out there. Few concerns over what's going on in the White House, but I think Utah is protected. We have some amazing citizens in the state, and everybody really helps each other out, you know, and I love it. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Julio. Gosh, I learned so much. I bet you did too. Before, I'm going to wrap up a little bit on what you summarized, some of the points that you said, and then I want you to think maybe at the end you could share with us what you believe or describe your signature dish to us, because you have some great food there. But I was really impressed, Julio, when you said you used that downtime. That must have been a painful time, those 2 weeks when you had to close your restaurant, but you did something really productive. You deep cleaned, because that was proactive. You knew you were going to reopen, and you were going to reopen better than when you closed. And by deep cleaning, you were going to be even more prepared to be a better restaurant. And you explained how you were innovative. And sometimes when we try things and they fail, we can turn that into a learning experience. You tried the food to go, it didn't work, so you moved on quickly. And you, I think, are in the forefront of creativity with your videos. And you have to check him out, because the meat sizzles on there, and he shows you, he pans the camera in the kitchen, so you see things right on the grill, and it's beautiful. And I have been in your restaurant, and you are very warm and welcoming, and it's about, just kind of like Keenan said, that human relationship. It makes you want to come back, because Julio will remember you by name. He does. He's great at that. And I like that you give back to the community. That really impressed me. Julio opened up for lunchtime one day to feed our police and fire first responders. And that was pretty amazing, because we have a big group of first responders. And he takes care of the people that take care of him. He gave back. And when I first went into Asado, it's kind of like this amazing experience for your senses, because first you smell. Who doesn't love meat searing on a grill? that grilled meat smell. And then there's the sound of Latin American music that's just so beautiful. And then he has trained his servers really well and those working there because they're just as friendly as he is. And so thank you, Julio, for sharing with us your tips and lesson learned. And then can you just kind of finish by sharing with us and describing maybe what you think your signature dish is at Asado?
Well, I put the menu together, and I hear when people say everything's good, but everything really is good. The beef that we serve is 12 months old. The cows that we purchase, they're not working cows, so there's not enough fat developed, and so you're having another level quality meat if you're coming to have beef. But our chicken cordon bleu really has become one of our top dishes. It's the breast of chicken. We put an omelet on top, spinach, bacon, mozzarella. We roll it, we bake it, then we saute mushrooms in a white wine sauce and cover all that up. Mary's getting hungry over there. And so, the flavors are immediate, and it's fresh, and you can tell, our desserts my wife makes all the desserts. So you got to have a homemade dessert in your lifetime. And I'm sure you guys cook that at home, but to be able to go out to a restaurant and have a homemade cake of whatever you like, it's a different level, and I love it.
Thank you, Julio. Made me hungry. I thought it is lunchtime.
Yeah.
Now we're going to turn it over to questions. Does anyone have any questions? You're free to just ask the questions outright, or you can type them in the dialogue box. I know we have.
I have a question for Keenan. Hey, Keenan, how are you?
I am fabulous.
So my question to you is, now that we're open again, right? Are you guys full force? Are you making the kids wear masks?
So when things first started, they weren't specific to dance studios. And that's honestly why I had to call the health department so many times, because they weren't giving like specific guidelines. And now they are giving much better and specific guidelines for businesses like us. So we are full force. We are in-person classes. I can tell that parents are ready for their kids to have activities. Our classes are actually fuller than they've ever been in seasons past. And when the mask mandate back in December first came out, we were wearing masks in dance class. After Christmas, I called the health department and got a little better specifications. And if we distance, then they do not need to wear their masks during dance class, during the physical activity. We still have a lot of dancers who choose to wear them, but they're not required in our classes, which has made it a little easier, especially with like our little preschool dancers. They wore them sideways. It was comical, really. But we're full force. It's turning out to be a great season. Last year, we were able to end strong, which I was so happy about. We were one of the very few dance studios who got an in-person recital on a stage. We were the first production back at the Covey Center, and so many people rely on school venues, and those were all closed. And so we were able to end strong and begin strong again this season. So I count us as a very blessed business in our industry. And cool. I think across the board with dance studios, people have seen a pretty strong season this year, which is excellent.
Fantastic. Wow. Any other comments or questions from our attendees?
I've got a question for Neal. This is Nate. I'm over on the other side of the camera. Hi, everybody. But so Neal, you talked about cross-training, and that's just a great thing that everybody can implement. But what kind of return on investment, or what kind of insights do you have out of the results of the cross-training? Have you had any improvements, anything cool that you can report about that?
Oh yeah, so we had, we make a variety of products, from folding chairs to folding tables, stackable, convention style chairs, dance floors. So we were still getting orders in some areas and not in others. And so normally what they would do is, the way it was before, is okay, if we don't have the orders, we go ahead and send these people home, but we have to bring in temps or train more people in these areas. And what we pushed hard for is to make sure that, that our entire production staff could move to different areas. And so it made a huge difference. Even though we reduced our head count, we were still able to meet expected demand as it rose and fell, because we were able to reallocate our resources to those areas. And that's going to pay off huge dividends going forward, because it'll allow us to, you know, as we add staff, we make sure that they are all cross-trained. And so as we see ebbs and flows in some areas and not in others, we're able to move people around and keep them all employed.
Thank you. That's fantastic, being able to just be flexible and creative and dealing with the cards we've been dealt with, right? Mary, I have a question for you. I know you are an amazing person with myriads of connections in your industry. How has really being a people person benefited you in the work that you do, especially even throughout this pandemic? I think you're muted. I can't hear you.
How's that?
There.
Now, I forgot, I put this down, my little space alien helmet thing here. So that's a good question, Kathy. And after I answer that, I want to ask a question of the other business owners. But so what I found was that the importance of picking up the phone and calling people you haven't talked to in a really long time. Because even if we didn't have commercial real estate business to talk about at that moment, just checking in with them and saying, you guys doing okay? Is there anything you need? Doesn't have to be real estate, right? Just tell me if there's anything I can do to help you. And that really helped me get through the early part of it, as we're all trying to figure out what we're going to do. And I think that the relationships across the board, maybe I called people I didn't really know that well, and they seemed okay with taking my phone call. You know, it's like, okay, good, I can call these people. It was a good process of learning and honing my own communication skills. So I have a question for the other business owners, all of you, just in any order. I'll tell you my experience. I want to know if there's anything that you've done in your business that you feel you've improved upon and you wouldn't have done had COVID not happened. So in our business, we've made sure that we dedicate resources to doing floor plans, better photos, virtual tours of properties, so that people can, without leaving their office or without leaving their home, experience the real estate better. And before, you know, it was more like, okay, yeah, I'll show you that property. Let's hop in the car. Let's run down there. And really, Zoom and virtual tours are changing the landscape of commercial real estate. So that's we wouldn't have done it had COVID not forced us to moment.
For us at the restaurant, really, we learned to really pay attention to the details, saying welcome, saying thank you, asking for reviews was big, but being appreciative, you know, of you being here with us, because you could go anywhere else. And so, you know, we had to retrain sometimes people to smile and appreciate you being there. Also, the food truck for us was no brainer.
Thank you.
Well, I know for us, quite similar to what you were talking about, Mary, is adding in the digital component. A dance class is usually something you attend in person, and we've kind of had to add, when kids are on quarantine, they're not sick, but they just can't come to class. And so we've had to add a digital component to pull those kids into class and to still make it worthwhile, especially being an attendance-based business. If they aren't at class, their parents don't want to pay for that class. So we needed to figure out a way to keep them in class and to keep their tuition payment the same, so that I can plan the business moving forward and that kind of thing. And so that has been probably the biggest thing. We even got to the point at one point last May that the teacher was at home, but the kids were in the classroom. And we just had to get really creative, and our technology was not quite like state of the art, but we made it work. And the kids got the instruction from their qualified teacher. they had the room to dance, and we just had to get really creative digitally in a dance world, which isn't always what you would first think. So
Thank you.
For us, I would say that the two areas, one is we became far more disciplined in our collections. Before, sales group, they just kind of gave up, once they were done selling the product, they didn't worry about collecting the bill. And so it was just turned over to our collections over a space of time. And we had a pretty large amount that was still outstanding. And so we were very disciplined to make sure we got the cash in from people that had agreed to pay us anyway. So it wasn't really a real hard issue there. And that also created a lot of discipline for some of our returning customers that were neglectful in paying their bills, to make sure we added some discipline and some controls that way. A sales rep, he doesn't want to give any bad news and just say yes to everything. And what we started to do is say, look, you've got to make sure that we have a partnership that works. And so for these customers that aren't paying their bills, you're going to have to let them know we're going to change the terms if they want to continue to order from us. And that's really hard for a sales rep when your sales are down and man, I just want to go out and sell more and more. We need it, but we need good customers too. And so that was one of the things we became far more disciplined on as we went through COVID, is making sure we weren't hung out to dry by customers.
Thank you, Neal. One thing that the City of Orem and our Economic Development Department really tried to do is to more creatively meet our business needs. So in March of last year, in the beginning of the pandemic, we created the Orem Business Alliance under the direction of our city manager, Jamie Davidson. And we learned to become better listeners, because in order to understand our business needs, we really had to be a careful listener. And then we had to quickly respond with very accurate information, the best that we could, from accurate sources like the Governor's Office of Economic Development and different sources. And then we had to be creative in how we could disseminate it. And so we created a web page. Nate Prescott, our analyst, created a web page, and he puts out weekly, sometimes even more often, sometimes less often, emails with all kinds of information about the financial resources available to you as a business owner. And if you aren't receiving those, please, in the text box, jot down your email. We'll make sure that you're receiving those Orem Business Alliance ongoing emails to just empower you with information so that you can make good choices and be able to take advantage of some of the financial opportunities coming up. And as we know, the Paycheck Protection Program or Paycheck Protection Plan is also been supercharged with more funding now. And so we will be sending out information forthcoming in an email about that. And we'll also have what's called the CARES Act Revolving Loan Fund. It's funded through the federal government, and there'll be 0 to low interest loans available to small business owners. And we'll send information as soon as that's finally approved from the federal government through our Orem Business Alliance emails that we send out. But I want to thank all of our speakers. Thank you so much for taking time away from your busy days. I know the work that you do is important to our community, and we thank you for the work that you do and for the community contributors you are, because you're making a difference, and we appreciate that. And we want to thank those of you who are listening, and we hope that this has been helpful and informative, and we'll see you again next month on our webinar.
Thank you, Kathy. Bye, everybody. Happy New Year.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care, everyone.